Imagine waking up as a farmer only to find a whole year's hard work turned into rubble in just a single night. In the US state of Texas, people are literally losing their minds, and the reason is an army of over 2 million wild hogs. These creatures are not just passing animals. They are destruction machines capable of turning lush green farms into scorched earth in a matter of hours. We are talking about a disaster that drains $119 million from the agricultural sector annually. How did wild hogs turn into an environmental catastrophe that destroys crops and causes massive damage to farmers in Texas? This is what we will explore in today's video, but before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. The strange reality is that these hogs are not native to this land. They didn't even exist here hundreds of years ago, as North America was entirely free of them until European explorers arrived. They brought them along as a portable food source and let them roam freely. But what began as a plan to provide sustenance turned into one of the greatest environmental blunders in history. The pigs escaped and multiplied, and worse yet, they interbred with European wild boars that were also imported for hunting. The result was the emergence of a super hybrid breed, massive, highly intelligent, and reproducing at a terrifying rate. In the warm climate and vast expanses of Texas, these creatures found their promised paradise, transforming into an army without uniforms, an army that knows no borders. In 2004, in Fannin County, a farmer named Jay Norman was driving his tractor as usual, planting corn seeds. When he turned the tractor at the end of the row, he was shocked by what he saw. More than 100 hogs were following directly behind the tractor. They weren't digging up seeds from yesterday or last week. They were devouring the seeds Norman had placed in the soil just minutes prior. 20 years ago, Norman used to hear such stories and thought they were exaggerations. But now the nightmare had reached his own doorstep, and a terrifying truth began to emerge. These animals are learning. Imagine this. Wild hogs are no longer attacking at random. They have memorized the sound of tractor engines and realized that behind these machines lies a hidden feast of seeds. They would patiently monitor planting patterns, waiting for the tractor to move far enough away before launching their organized assault. This is a level of intelligence that has cost Texas farmers a fortune. In 2019, losses were estimated at $119 million, but by 2025, that figure exploded to nearly $500 million. It is no longer just about a broken fence or a ruined garden. We are talking about entire fields being wiped off the map in a single night. The invasion did not stop at the borders of the farms. These armies crawled toward major cities, storming parks, schoolyards, and green spaces, as if seeking a direct confrontation with humans. Even the farmers' desperate attempts to escape failed. They tried planting cotton instead of corn. The hogs favored only to discover the bitter truth. Changing the crop does not solve the problem. It only changes the target. The real danger lies not just in the massive numbers of hogs, but in their incredible ability to adapt to every weapon humans use against them, from traditional traps and baits to the use of hunting dogs. However, the results were always disappointing. The crisis was never solved. It was merely displaced. As soon as the hogs were driven from one field, they would flee to the neighboring one and return as soon as the situation calmed down. The reality is that random hunting was a losing battle. Farmers might hunt 300 hogs a year, but that number means nothing in the face of the animal's population explosion. Worse yet, the hogs began to understand the traps and avoid them, even changing their feeding schedules to deceive humans. Suddenly, the tone in Texas shifted, and people began talking about an end to the nightmare. Texas built a sophisticated, multi-layered system. Massive corral traps were deployed across the state, which were not just mere iron structures, but devices equipped with cameras and advanced mobile communication technology. Now, a farmer sits in his home while the hogs enter to feed on corn, unaware they are under a microscope. Once the entire sounder has entered, with a single tap on a phone, the massive iron gate slams shut. This system is what saved cities like Irving. Instead of failed electric fences, control is now managed in real time. and execution only occurs when the perfect moment arrives to catch everyone at once. The real secret here is not just in the hunting, but in the scale. Traditional traps would catch 1 or 2 hogs, while the rest escaped to learn the lesson. However, smart traps allow you to wait patiently until the entire group enters, and with one click, the whole gang is eradicated in a second. Neighbors began working as a single team, sharing costs and data to monitor vast areas. Farmers trained the hogs for 2 weeks, leaving the gates open and providing free food until they completely drop their guard. When they feel absolute safety, the time for execution arrives, but Texas realized that defense alone was not enough. In high-conflict areas, they needed something more offensive, something that wouldn't give the hogs a single second to think in, and this is where helicopters were transformed into weapons of mass destruction against these pests. Multi-million-dollar helicopters began being dispatched with the first light of dawn. While a hunter on the ground might cover a few hundred meters in a night, a helicopter crew surveys thousands of acres in hours. In some collaborative operations, 400,000 acres are swept at once. From the air, there is nowhere to hide. Pilots uncover secret hideouts in dense brush and track movement paths through creeks and mountains unreachable by cars. At $4,000 per person, and without even needing a hunting license, this process has turned into genuine surgical strikes. Yet even this aerial bombardment is not enough on its own. The true effectiveness comes from constant pressure and integrated system that besieges the hogs with intelligence from the ground and power from the sky. However, even the aerial bombardment was not the end. Texas decided to raise the stakes to an entirely new level: disciplined chemical warfare. This was not about scattering random poison on the ground. Rather, it involved using toxins specifically designed for this enemy, implemented through a strict system, complex training, and smart bait stations that only hogs could infiltrate. Imagine the engineering of these traps: heavy magnetic gates and guillotine-like doors. Deer, birds, and even raccoons lack the strength to open them. Only the wild hog, with its brute force, can gain entry, and that is exactly the trap. The secret lies not in the poison, but in the deception. Landowners do not deploy the toxin immediately. Instead, they feed the hogs regular corn for 2 weeks, pampering them until they grow accustomed to opening the stations and eating in total safety. Only when it is certain that the entire sounder, which can sometimes include 30 hogs, has completely let its guard down, is the corn replaced with poison for a single night. The entire herd is eradicated. There is no room for error and no way to escape. All of these lethal weapons, the helicopters, the smart traps, and the poisons, failed for years for one simple reason: everyone was working alone. While one farmer fought the hogs fiercely, his neighbor might leave them be for hunting purposes. While one county launched an aerial assault, the neighboring county remained completely silent. The problem was not the tools, but the loopholes. The wild hogs were simply fleeing to wherever the pressure was lower, but Texas finally realized the truth: an army cannot be defeated through individual efforts. This led to the great turning point, shifting from solitary action to an organized campaign mentality. Counties began functioning as a single body, and the pressure was no longer intermittent. Now, when night hunting begins, it starts across all surrounding farms at the exact same moment. When traps are set, they are deployed according to a unified schedule. In doing so, the escape routes have been completely sealed, and the results have been staggering. Hog populations plummeted at record speeds. Crop losses receded, and life returned to farms that were once on the brink of bankruptcy. Through instant communication networks and shared surveillance cameras, farmers have finally moved one step ahead of the hogs. Following all these confrontations, Texas began asking the most important question: why wait for a disaster to treat it? Why not prevent it from the start? Consequently, the state moved to the next level: reproductive control. Instead of bullets and poisons, scientists are now working on developing a hormonal weapon to render wild hogs sterile. Without new births, these herds will gradually and naturally fade away. This brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching.